Ethan could smell Christmas before he even stepped into the living room. Cinnamon, roasted turkey, and the faint sweetness of an apple pie cooling by the window. It was the smell of nostalgia. The kind that crept into your bones and made you believe, just for a second, that everything was going to be okay. He had spent the entire day cooking, roasting the turkey just the way his mom liked it. Seasoned with herbs, stuffed with garlic butter, crispy on the outside and juicy inside. The stuffing was made from scratch, a recipe he found in an old cookbook she used to keep on the top shelf. And the apple pie? Golden brown, flaky crust, with just the right amount of nutmeg. It was the first Christmas he had actually looked forward to in years. The dining table was modest but carefully set. A red and green plaid runner down the center. Candles flickering, plates aligned perfectly. There was only family here tonight. His mom, his younger sister Rachel, and cousin Drew. But Ethan wanted it to feel like something more. Like a pause from the chaos. A moment of peace. They sat down. Glasses clinked. Small talk floated around like snowflakes. Light, harmless, a little cold. Ethan had just taken his first bite of turkey when it happened. "You need to move out," his mother said mid-chew, as if she were commenting on the weather. The sentence landed like a gunshot in a quiet church. Ethan blinked. He stared at her across the table, fork halfway to his mouth. Maybe he misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" She didn't flinch. "You need to move out, Ethan. It's time." He looked around. Rachel was frozen, her glass of water poised at her lips. Drew's mouth was slightly open, his fork still in hand. "I pay the rent," Ethan said slowly, keeping his voice calm despite the storm rising in his chest. "I cover the bills. I buy all the groceries. What are you talking about?" His mom sipped her wine, shrugged lightly. "I just think I need my space back. It's been too long with someone else here. I'm not used to it anymore." Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at the woman who used to tuck him in at night, who cried when he graduated high school, who once told him he was her miracle baby. And now she was talking to him like he was a tenant overstaying his welcome. He swallowed hard, forcing back the lump in his throat. "You haven't worked in years, Mom. You are about to lose this house. I moved back in to help you." "I didn't ask for your help," she muttered. "You didn't have to." Silence. Even the candles seemed to flicker nervously. Ethan didn't cause a scene. He didn't throw his plate, didn't yell. He simply set down his fork, wiped his hands on his napkin, and stood. "I need some air," he said quietly, and left the table. In his room, the walls suddenly felt closer, the bed too small, the air too thin. He sat for hours that night, staring at the suitcase in the corner. The same one he brought back home when he moved in 3 years ago, back when Mom lost her job and the bills were drowning her. He'd dropped everything, his apartment, his independence, to save the roof over her head. And now he was disposable. At some point after midnight, he started packing. He didn't know where he'd go. He didn't care. All he knew was, you don't stay where you're not wanted. His mother didn't knock. Didn't ask why his door was open. She went to bed like nothing happened. In the morning, while she was still asleep, Ethan slung the suitcase over his shoulder, grabbed his laptop, his charger, and one small framed photo of him and Rachel at the beach when they were kids. No note, no goodbye, just silence. And for the first time in his life, Ethan felt like an orphan. The first night on Mason's couch was cold. Not because of the weather, but because of the silence. Ethan lay there, staring at the ceiling in his friend's apartment, trying to piece together the explosion that was his Christmas dinner. The soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional passing car outside were the only reminders that life was still moving forward, even when his had just shattered. Mason, his college buddy, had welcomed him with open arms and zero judgment. "Bro, you saved your mom for years. If she can't see that, that's on her." Ethan nodded, grateful, but numb. He hadn't cried. Not yet, but the ache in his chest felt permanent. The next few days blurred together. Ethan applied for apartments, cheap ones. Far from his job, smaller than a college dorm, but his own. After a few showings, he signed a lease on a tiny studio on the edge of town. One window, a single burner stove, and just enough room for a bed and a folding table. But it felt like freedom. Like oxygen after years of suffocating under expectations and silent resentment. He hadn't heard from his mom. No call, no text, no, "Are you okay?" Not even a passive-aggressive emoji. At first, he checked his phone every hour, then every few. Then he gave up. Until one afternoon, 5 days after he moved out, his younger sister Rachel texted, "You won't believe what Mom is telling everyone." His stomach twisted. He called her instantly. Her voice was soft, cautious. "She told Aunt Donna and the rest of the family that you yelled at her during dinner, that you stormed out like some kind of spoiled brat." Ethan blinked. "What?" "That you cursed her out, that you said you hated her. She's painting you like the villain." For a moment, Ethan couldn't speak. "She said I should be careful around you too," Rachel continued, her voice cracking. "She's rewriting the whole story, Ethan." Within 24 hours, the fallout began. His Uncle Ray unfollowed him on Instagram. His cousin Megan removed him from the family group chat. An old family friend messaged, "I'm praying for your mom. I hope you realize what you did was wrong." He felt like a ghost, alive, but erased. Ethan sat on the edge of his new bed, phone in hand, and stared at the screen. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, wanting to type, to scream, to fight back. But he stopped. What could he even say? He had given his youth, his savings, and his peace of mind to keep that house alive, and now he was being crucified for leaving it. That night, he stood by the window of his tiny studio, watching snowflakes drift beneath the streetlight, and whispered to himself, "She didn't just push me out. She wanted to make sure no one let me back in." And that realization hurt more than being kicked out. It wasn't about the house anymore. It was about his name, his truth, his story. He grabbed his laptop and opened a blank document. Not to rant, not to rage, but to reclaim his voice. The post he wrote was long, but measured. No insults, no drama, just facts. That he paid every bill in the house for over 3 years. That he moved back in to save his mother from losing her home. That he cooked that Christmas meal, silently hoping it would bring them closer. And that, in return, he was told to leave, calmly, publicly, like a stranger who overstayed his welcome. He ended it with a line that made his own chest tighten as he wrote it. "Sometimes the people who raised you don't really know how to love you, especially once you stop sacrificing yourself for their comfort." He hit post, then he closed his laptop and waited. Ethan didn't sleep the night he posted the story. He had closed his laptop, turned his phone face down, and tried to convince himself that the truth would be enough. That dignity didn't need applause to be valid. But the silence was unbearable. What if no one believed him? What if the post just looked like a pity party? What if, by speaking up, he had confirmed every bad thing his mother had told others? That he was dramatic, disrespectful, unstable. By morning, his anxiety was replaced by something stranger. Stillness. Then, ping! One notification, then another, and another. His phone came alive with dozens, then hundreds, of messages, likes, shares, and missed calls. Ethan blinked in disbelief. He hadn't expected a storm. But the storm had arrived, and it was cleansing. The first message he opened was from Aunt Lisa, his mother's older sister. "Ethan, I just read your post. I'm sorry, truly sorry. I should have asked for your side sooner." He reread the message 5 times. Then came more. "I had no idea you were the one paying everything. That must have been so hard to carry alone. Your mom always had a complicated way of telling stories." Even his cousin Megan, the one who removed him from the group chat, messaged, "I feel awful. I just followed what Mom said. I didn't ask you. That's on me." Ethan's throat tightened. The words didn't erase the pain, but they acknowledged it. And that, in itself, was healing. But not every message was kind. Some were defensive. One relative accused him of humiliating his mother publicly, saying, "You could have handled this privately. Family matters shouldn't be on social media." To which Ethan, quietly and without bitterness, thought, It stopped being private the moment she made me a villain in everyone's eyes. Then, inevitably, the one message he dreaded most appeared. His mother. No greeting, no warmth, just, "I can't believe you would humiliate me like that." Seconds later, "You twisted everything. I never told you to leave. You chose to." And then, the golden dagger. "After all I've done for you." Ethan exhaled slowly. The guilt. The manipulation. It was all there, wrapped in those 7 words. After all I've done for you. What had she done for him lately? He had been feeding her, housing her, shielding her from reality. And still, she demanded more. This time, he didn't reply. He didn't argue, because silence was no longer his prison. Now, it was his boundary. Over the next week, the buzz around the post began to settle. But the effect lingered. Some relatives never responded, and he was okay with that. Others quietly began reaching out to reconnect, not with apologies, but with presence. A simple coffee invite, a forwarded meme, a thinking of you text. Small signs that they saw him now, not through his mother's lens, but on his own terms. Then came the most unexpected message. "Rachel," his sister. "Can we meet?" Ethan agreed. They met at a small coffee shop near his new apartment, neutral territory. She looked older somehow. Not in a tired way, but in a way people look after they've walked through fire. After some awkward small talk, she said softly, "You did the right thing, Ethan. You should have left sooner." His breath caught. Those words, simple, quiet, and true, felt like a hand on his shoulder in the middle of a storm. Rachel told him that since he left, things had gotten worse at home. Their mom was missing rent, blaming everyone else, even asking their grandmother for money, and being denied. "She's spiraling," Rachel admitted. "And she still says it's your fault." Ethan shook his head. "Of course she does." Then Rachel said the one thing he didn't expect. "I think I want to leave too. I just don't know how." Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. "I can't pay for it, but I'll help however I can. I won't leave you behind." That night, as he returned to his small studio, Ethan finally felt something that had been missing for years. Peace. Not the kind you earn through silence, but the kind you earn through truth. It had been nearly 2 months since Ethan posted the story. His studio apartment, once bare and echoing, now had a rhythm of its own. He'd found a cozy second-hand couch, a small dining table with mismatched chairs, and a $20 coffee maker that sputtered like a tiny train but never failed him. He no longer tiptoed around the apartment. He played music while he cooked. He laughed loudly during TV shows. He existed without apology. The silence that once terrified him, now it felt like home. Then, one rainy Saturday morning, came the knock. Ethan glanced through the peephole and froze. It was his mother. She stood outside, holding a store-bought apple pie, the kind with a perfect crust and zero love inside, and wearing a smile that felt like a costume. He hesitated for a moment, then opened the door just enough to step out and close it behind him. They stood there in the hallway, the pie between them like a peace offering that didn't quite land. "I've been thinking," she began, avoiding eye contact. "Maybe we could have dinner sometime, talk about everything." Ethan stayed quiet. "I miss you," she added, voice trembling slightly. "Things haven't been the same." Then he asked, calmly, firmly, "Did you come here to apologize?" She hesitated, and that hesitation was everything. "Well, I don't think I need to apologize," she said finally. "I think we both made mistakes." Ethan let out a quiet breath, not of frustration, but of clarity. There it was. She still didn't get it. This wasn't about blame. It wasn't even about being right. It was about accountability. About someone who refused to acknowledge the damage they caused, because doing so would mean losing the control they held. He looked her in the eye and said, with a voice soft but unwavering, "I wish you well, Mom, but I'm not coming back. Not to that house. Not to that dynamic. Not to being the invisible backbone that gets no thanks." She stared at him, stunned. For a moment, she looked like she might protest, but he'd already turned and gently closed the door. No slam, no screaming, just the sound of a boundary being honored. That night, Ethan made dinner for one: roasted chicken, green beans, and mashed potatoes. Simple, warm, his kind of comfort. He sat by the window with a book in hand, the soft hum of life surrounding him. There were no apologies echoing in the air, no guilt hanging over his head. Just peace. And that peace wasn't born from revenge or justice. It came from release. Rachel visited the next weekend. She brought homemade muffins and talked about her plan to move out soon. "I'm saving up," she smiled. "And I'm scared, but seeing you like this, it gives me hope." Ethan hugged her. "You don't owe anyone your life just because they gave you theirs. You get to build your own now." She nodded, wiping away a tear. They sat by the window and watched the rain, like they used to when they were kids. But this time, no one was upstairs yelling. No one was listening for footsteps. Only freedom. Ethan didn't take the post down, not to shame his mother, not to keep wounds open, but because it was his truth. And for years, he had swallowed that truth in silence, to be the good son, the provider, the peacekeeper. Now, he didn't need to be good. He needed to be whole. And he was getting there, one quiet, honest, and powerful day at a time. Sometimes the healing doesn't come with an apology. Sometimes it comes when you stop waiting for on